Hey, today I want you to imagine something. Really imagine it. The screen is pitch black. A faint breath, then the sound of a film reel spinning in the dark. The first light flickers, not steady, but trembling, as if waking from a century of sleep. In that trembling light, you see yourself, or maybe a version of you from long ago. The air smells like dust and metal, the kind that sticks to the fingertips of projectionists. Something is about to return, something that time almost erased. You realize memory doesn't disappear. It only waits for someone brave enough to press play. Stay with me. Don't look away. Because what you're about to witness might change how you see the past, and maybe how the past still sees you. The story begins. The silence after the imagined projector lamp dims is heavy, punctuated only by the low hum of the climate-controlled vault. You stand now, really stand, in the cold heart of the archive. The light here is surgical, a pale blue wash that respects the darkness but exposes everything. It catches the minute particles floating in the air, transforming the dust of decades into temporary, shimmering constellations. Your breath is shallow, an awareness that the atmosphere you occupy is engineered not for life, but for the preservation of memory. Before you, the artifact, a stack of metal canisters, their labels faded to illegible ghosts of ink. This is the last known copy of The Whispering City, a silent masterpiece from 1928, believed lost for over 70 years. You reach out, your fingertips hovering just above the chilled, oxidized surface of the metal. It's a moment of profound physical intimacy with history. This isn't just film. This is a chemical document, a volatile mixture of cellulose nitrate, silver halide crystals, and time. You lift the first reel. It's surprisingly heavy, a dense coil of history and potential fire. The documentary lens tracks the meticulous movement, the slow unlatching, the gentle separation of the reel from its can. The smell hits you first: camphor, vinegar, and something else, something metallic and strangely sweet. The ghost of decomposition. This is the vinegar syndrome, the chemical decay of the triacetate base, the slow, inevitable suicide of the film itself. The visual symbol here is the crack, not in the image yet, but in the brittle edges of the film's stock, the hairline fractures that mark the boundaries of survival. You unspool a few feet onto the light table. The film is stained, warped. You see the emulsion, the delicate layer that captured the light, pitted and blistered. There are deep, vertical scratches, the scars of hundreds of projections through misaligned gates, the evidence of careless human hands. This reel has lived. It was shown in smoky theaters, handled by tired projectionists, perhaps censored, certainly cherished. The motif of human reflection starts here, the tension between decay and desire. We desire the pure, perfect image, yet the imperfections, the static noise, the scratches, are the only proof we have that it was ever truly real, truly handled by humans in its time. As you hold a single frame to the light, a woman's face, partially obscured by a fungal bloom on the emulsion, stares out at you. Her expression is locked in a century-old moment of dramatic tension. Her eyes, though distorted by damage, still carry a faint, undeniable resonance. Who is she? An actress, forgotten, now resurrected by this delicate archaeology. Who is remembered when the celluloid begins to crumble? It's a random act of chemical fate. The process demands meticulous cataloging. Every splice is a historical decision, every tear a micro-tragedy. You wear white cotton gloves, a necessary barrier between the acid on the film and the oils on your skin. But the barrier feels insufficient. You are not merely observing decay. You are intervening in a chemical finality. You are holding back the tide of oblivion. The camera zooms tight on a piece of mold, spreading like a miniature, pale forest across the celluloid. This biological intrusion is a silent testament to time, a co-author of the film's narrative. The light source is carefully calibrated, low UV, high Kelvin, to minimize further degradation while maximizing visibility. The digital camera capturing this initial documentation is almost absurdly high resolution, a cold, analytical eye judging the extent of the damage. This is where the conflict sharpens. The warm, organic, human-made artifact versus the cold, absolute, binary gaze of the modern machine. The machine demands truth, But the truth it captures is the truth of damage, not the truth of the original intention. Your task now is preparation, the physical cleaning. You use specialized solvents, gentle application. The solvent evaporates almost instantly, leaving behind a faint residue of cleanliness. It's like gently waking someone from a deep sleep, brushing the dust from their clothes before they face the world. You're not trying to erase the past, only stabilize it. You know you can't erase the scratches. They are the film's fingerprints. They are the recurring visual symbol that tells you where you are in the journey. Every scratch is a whisper from a silent audience, a moment where the light hit the film in a specific, damaging way. The open-ended reflective question whispers in the sterile air. If a memory is physically destroyed, can its meaning still persist? You look at the nitrate base, the material that will one day turn to dust, or worse, spontaneously combust. You are racing against chemistry, trying to steal a century-old moment back from the elements. The entire endeavor feels like a futile but necessary defiance, a stubborn refusal to let the darkness win, frame by frame. The faint, echoing hiss of the archival air conditioning feels like the breath of the film itself, struggling for survival. You move past the archival stage and into the preparation lab. The light here is warmer, more directional, illuminating the workstations where the physical repairs happen. The smell of solvents and fresh tape replaces the archival camphor. You sit, hunched over a workstation, a rewind bench with its gentle, clicking mechanisms. This is where the raw material is transformed into a workable medium for the next stage. It is a work of painstaking, near-religious focus. You are now looking for splices, those brief, silent interruptions where the original editor, the forgotten hand, cut two pieces of time together. They used adhesive cement, an imprecise, manual bond. The camera focuses tight on the texture of the join, slightly rough, occasionally bubbling where the chemical welding wasn't perfect. This is the human footprint on the image. In an age of digital nonlinear editing, these physical cuts feel heavy, decisive. Every splice meant a moment of artistic finality, an irreversible choice. This section centers on the motif of human reflection, the anonymity of creation. We remember the stars, the director, sometimes the writer. But who remembers the grip who held the lamp, the focus puller who kept the background sharp, the negative cutter who worked in the dark? You are touching their literal work, the residue of their 1920s labor. Their intention, preserved in this brittle format, speaks a language without words, a rhythm of cuts, a sweep of the camera, a careful exposure setting dictated by the primitive light of the era. As you meticulously examine the film, frame by frame, you see evidence of repair attempts from decades past. A piece of ordinary household sticky tape, long yellowed and brittle, covers a tear. The adhesive has bled into the emulsion, ruining a few frames, leaving a brownish, ghost-like stain around the edges. These old, crude repairs are themselves a piece of the film's history, markers of previous owners who loved the film enough to try and save it, but lacked the specialized knowledge to do so correctly. It is a tender, frustrating sight, this well-intentioned damage. The recurring visual symbol continues to be the scratch, now seen not just as damage, but as a narrative track. The deep vertical scratches often run for dozens of feet, testifying to a singular, violent event in a projection booth, a sprocket tear, a dropped reel, a moment of mechanical failure. They look like lines of static carved into the image itself, a permanent layer of noise over the original vision. You notice how the light catches the bevel of the scratch, creating a flash of white that distracts the eye. There are moments, however, when you see a frame that is miraculously untouched. A close-up, sharp and clear, of a street corner in a long-vanished city. The details are astonishing. The weave of a coat, the expression on a background extra's face, the typography on a forgotten storefront sign. For that single frame, the gap of a century collapses. You are looking directly through the eyes of the camera operator, standing on that street in 1928. This momentary clarity is a profound connection, a brief, silent handshake across time. The physical labor of the restoration now takes center stage. You are cleaning, flattening, and resplicing with modern, archival tape and a hot splicer. The process is meditative, demanding a steady hand and an almost inhuman patience. You are stabilizing the perforation holes, the tiny squares along the edge that feed the film through the camera and projector. Many are torn, requiring reinforcement. These perforations are the bead of the film, the mechanism that turns light into motion. Without them, the image is meaningless stillness. You become intimately familiar with the film's rhythm of silence. Silent film actors performed with an exaggerated, almost choreographic intensity. Their gestures are grand, their emotions writ large across their faces. Yet, when you look at the raw frames, they are just frozen moments. It's the flicker, the movement, that gives them meaning. You realize the silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the amplification of gesture. It forces the viewer, and now the restorer, to slow down, to read the past in physical terms. The open-ended reflective question emerges as you hold a repaired section up to the light, sealing the new splice. When we stabilize a decaying artifact, are we saving the art, or simply preserving the evidence of its near destruction? You contemplate the fact that the original creator's vision is forever intertwined with the chaos of time. The anonymous artisans who touched this film, the women who colored the title cards, the men who drove the massive cameras, the projectionists who kept the reels safe, they are all ghosts in the machine. You are their proxy, their last witness. You hear the soft, persistent echo of their work in the gentle click of the rewind bench, and the knowledge that every repair is a small act of tribute to their forgotten presence. The weight of the reel in your hand is the literal weight of their collective, unseen effort. The film, now physically stabilized and cleaned, leaves the intimacy of the lab and enters the cathedral of the scanner room. This is the cold heart of the operation, where the human touch gives way to binary precision. The light in this massive, sound-dampened space is stark and controlled, bathing the towering equipment in a clinical glow. The air is dry, regulated, and the atmosphere shifts from one of historical tenderness to one of high-tech, absolute capture. The recurring visual symbol changes slightly here. The physical scratch is no longer the focus. It is the digital static, the noise generated by the scanner struggling to resolve the damaged emulsion. The film is fed slowly, agonizingly, through the high-resolution machine. The laser scans it, frame by frame, capturing 6K, 8K, maybe even higher. The resolution is so immense that it doesn't just capture the image. It captures the structure of the film base, the grain of the emulsion, and every microscopic imperfection invisible to the naked eye. You watch the monitor. The image appearing on the screen is an inversion of reality. It's not a film anymore. It's a massive, complex data file. You see the woman's face from the archive, but now you see her through a lens of perfect, relentless clarity. Every scratch is amplified. Every speck of dust is a boulder. Every fungal spore a mountain range. The damage is now quantifiable, assigned an RGB value, a coordinate on a grid. It is no longer a historical mark, it is data corruption. This is the moment of deep moral and artistic conflict. The motif of human reflection shifts to the burden of perfection. The digital tool gives you the power to erase history, to fix the film. You can eliminate the scratches, stabilize the shaky frames, correct the color shifts caused by age, and digitally heal the missing pieces of emulsion. You can create a version of the Whispering City that is cleaner, brighter, and more stable than the print its original audience ever saw. But should you? That is the heart of the dilemma. Is a perfectly clean image an honest image? The camera moves in close on the interface of the restoration software. You watch the tools at work. The deflicker algorithm analyzing the instability of the lamp used almost a century ago. The dust-busting software identifying and neutralizing millions of tiny particles. You see a digital brushstroke applied to a long, vertical scratch. In a flash, the scratch vanishes. The original background, a cobblestone street, a shadow, reappears, synthesized by the algorithm. It is a miracle of mathematics, but it feels like a subtle act of forgery. The fear is not just of technical error, but of erasing the texture of time. The scratches were the evidence of the film's journey, its struggle for survival. They connected the viewer to the physical reality of the past. To remove them is to make the past feel pristine, untouchable, and therefore, perhaps, less real. You are fighting the desire to create a historical lie in the pursuit of beauty. The process demands collaboration: the restorer, the historian, the technician. Decisions are made frame by frame. Should we leave the inherent instability of the nitrate image, the slight warping, the breathing of the frame, or digitally lock it into a modern rigidity? Often, the decision is to preserve the noise, but to control its volume. To quiet the distraction, but retain the flavor. The goal is to make the film legible, not sterile. The sheer scale of the data is staggering. Terabytes of raw footage are generated. This digital capture is the definitive insurance policy against chemical oblivion. Even if the original nitrate burns or crumbles, this file, this vast collection of binary code, will persist. It is the film's immortal soul, housed in the cold logic of a hard drive. But can a soul truly reside in a sequence of ones and zeros? The air in the room is silent, save for the rhythmic thump-thump-thump of the scanner motor. It is the sound of time being captured, digitized, and paused. The open-ended reflective question hangs in the silence, illuminated by the bright screen. When technology allows us to erase the scars of the past, do we lose the story those scars told? You look at the monitor, seeing the restored frame, clear and bright, and you wonder who that woman on the screen would be if her image hadn't carried the weight of a century. She is perfectly resurrected, but perhaps just a little less human. The restoration is complete. The digital master, the definitive version, is stabilized, cleaned, and timed. The light is perfectly calibrated to reflect the original tinting and toning of the 1920s print. You leave the silent, sterile lab and enter the world of exhibition, a darkened theater where the finished product is being screened for the first time. The sound is only the gentle, rhythmic hiss of the sound system waiting for a score, the low rustle of anticipation from the small audience. The camera lens focuses on the collective faces of the viewers, historians, critics, and a few individuals whose grandparents might have seen this film when it premiered. This is where the restored image finds its true meaning. It is not in the archive or the scanner, but in the gaze of the spectator. The motif of human reflection becomes the reawakening of collective memory. The film starts. The title card, lovingly restored, flashes onto the screen, the whispering city. The image is breathtakingly clear, yet deliberately imperfect. The restorative team left a small, controlled amount of grain and noise, the digital static, to remind the viewer that this is not a new film, but an old film made visible again. The recurring visual symbol now manifests as the absence of the deep scratches, their residual ghost. A flicker of light where a massive gouge used to be is the only proof of the battle that was won. You watch the audience watching the screen. Their expressions shift, curiosity, then absorption, then a kind of startled recognition. For the historians, this is tangible proof of a missing piece of cinematic history. For the older viewers, it is a direct line to a time they only know through photographs and stories. The restored film acts as a vessel for intergenerational transference. The scene plays out. The woman from the archive, now clear-eyed and vibrant, rushes through a market square. The restored image reveals details that had been masked by decay, the advertisements on the walls, the cut of the extras' clothing, the specific architecture of the buildings. These are not just cinematic details, they are historical data, unlocked by the restoration. How does a recovered image change the way we understand our own history? The audience is no longer just watching a movie. They are witnessing a recontextualization of the past. The image they see is now the truth, the version that will be taught, studied, and remembered. The old, decaying print, the one you touched with your cotton gloves, is now just a fragile relic. The digital copy is the living history. You focus on one older man in the front row. His gaze is intense, unblinking. At one point, during a sequence showing children playing in a slum alley, a deep, private emotion crosses his face. A brief shadow of recognition, perhaps. His reaction is the evidence that this film still has power over the present. The restored film is not a dead document. It is a live wire connecting the 1920s to this very moment. The narrative of the film itself, a melodrama about industrial labor and class struggle, suddenly feels timely, not dusty. The restoration has not just repaired the celluloid, it has repaired the relevance. The silent suffering of the characters, emphasized by the dramatic lighting and the absence of sound, speaks with a clear, resonant voice across the decades. The open-ended reflective question is directed at the audience, though unspoken. When we fill in the missing frames of the past, do we impose our own modern silence onto the gaps? The temptation in restoration is to make the past serve the present, to make it too accessible, too easily consumed. But here, the restorers held back. The film remains obstinately silent, powerfully dated, demanding the audience meet it on its own terms. The motif of human reflection is that the film's return is not just about its survival, but about the audience's willingness to re-engage with its original context. The breath held by the audience during a moment of high drama is a collective echo of the breaths held by the first viewers nearly a century ago. The light from the screen washes over the seated figures, momentarily binding them together, making the past a shared, immediate experience. The screening ends. The audience applauds, a scattered but sincere sound that breaks the deep cinematic spell. The house lights come up slowly, a gentle fade-in that contrasts with the harsh, immediate switch-off of the archive. The echo of the applause fades into the room's ambient hum. You remain seated, watching the screen where the final frame, a silent, lingering shot of the protagonist looking back over her shoulder, still hangs for a moment before the blackness returns. This final section is about the aftermath, the lingering knowledge that the restoration process is now inseparable from the film's history. The finished master is perfect, but the perfection carries the trace of its making. The motif of human reflection is the realization that the restorer's choices, what to keep, what to erase, what to synthesize, are now definitive. The absence of damage is the final, greatest illusion. The recurring visual symbol is the fading memory, the sensation that the raw, decaying nitrate print you first held is already becoming a memory itself, overshadowed by its brilliant, digital successor. The original is returned to the vault, its fragility amplified by the success of the copy. It is now a relic of proof, rather than a narrative source. You consider the digital noise that was intentionally left in the image, the slight, controlled flicker, the whisper of grain. This noise is the residue of time, a deliberate refusal to create a mirror-smooth lie. It is the signature of the restoration ethic, honesty through controlled imperfection. It's a paradox. The image is clearest now that the restorers decided to leave just a little static behind. The light fixture in the empty theater reflects dimly on the screen, a small, square, static image against the vast blackness. It is a perfect square of contemporary light imposed upon the canvas of the past. You reflect on the original creator, the director from 1928, long gone, unknowing of the technology that saved their work. Would they recognize this version? Would they approve of the subtle, mathematical decisions that replaced the haphazard failures of the projectionist? The answer, you realize, is irrelevant. The film no longer belongs to its creator alone. It belongs to the history that almost consumed it, and to the technology that defiantly pulled it back. You are left with the final, quiet certainty that restoration is not resurrection, it is documentation. It's the process of stabilizing a ghost so that its outline can be traced by future generations. The lingering shot of the protagonist's final look, the one that hung on the screen, replays in your mind. Her expression is open-ended, suggesting hope, or perhaps resignation. It is the final open-ended reflective question the film poses, now delivered with crystalline clarity. When a film is saved from oblivion, whose future are we really protecting? The film's, or our own memory of the world it captured? The entire journey, from the smell of vinegar in the vault to the clarity of the theater screen, has been a study in the fragility of human endeavor. We build, time tears down, and then we painstakingly rebuild the tear to understand the power of the original building. The film is whole again, but the knowledge of its near loss, the crack in its history, is what truly gives the restored work its weight. You stand up, the quiet conviction settling that you have not just saved a film, you have participated in the final, unspoken scene of its century-long narrative. The theater is empty now. The light has been dimmed to an absolute minimum, settling the room into a deep, velvety silence. You do not move. You simply listen to the stillness. The sound of the film is gone. The audience's warmth has dissipated, leaving only the cold echo of the space itself. Your eyes remain fixed on the screen. It is a vast canvas of pure black, absorbent and profound. Yet, you know that the light that just left it is still moving, outward, past the walls, into the night air. And within that blackness, the woman's face, the cobblestone streets, the exaggerated grief of the 1920s performers, they are all still there, perfectly preserved in the silent logic of the digital file, waiting for the light to hit them again. The truth is, the restoration wasn't about the film, it was about the pause. It was about holding that moment of decay suspended long enough to ask why we fight so hard to keep something so ephemeral alive. The scratches, the mold, the vinegar smell, they were the true art, the collaboration between creation and destruction. We cleaned them, but we couldn't erase the memory of them. You feel the weight of the invisible archive, the cold vault, the whirring scanner. The effort was immense, the result flawless. And yet, the greatest emotional resonance is found in the few seconds of digital static that were intentionally left behind. A faint, trembling acknowledgement of the almost loss. It is a profound emptiness, a beautiful regret. You sit here, a spectator of the silence, knowing that the film's final message isn't what was shown, but what remains unsaid in the darkness. Maybe what's forgotten never truly disappears. It just waits for someone patient enough to watch until the very end of the credits.